Hello, everyone. I am Jonathan Crowe, Director of Content and Community at NinjaOne. I almost said NinjaRMM. And I am here to welcome you to IT Horror Fest. And I've got some sound effects I'll have to play here in a second. Let's see. Well, anyway, we'll get that. But I've got some great guests for you. I'm so excited to see everybody here. We've got a great hour planned for you guys where we're going to be sharing IT horror stories. We're going to be giving away some really cool prizes, and we're going to be subjecting ourselves to a really ridiculous challenge that I can't believe all of us agreed to do, especially in the middle of a workday. Jason's already saying that he's got a client meeting right after this, so we're going to see how he holds up. We're going to be eating the spiciest lollipop known to man. It's called the Toe of Satan. Strap in. We're going to see how all this goes. We're going to save that portion for the end. But for those of you, this is your first time with an event that we've done here at NinjaOne. First time on Crowdcast, maybe. Welcome. Thank you so much. You're already using the chat. This is awesome to see you guys. We want this to be very interactive, so feel free to go in the chat there. And in terms of sharing your own stories, that's something that we want to hear too. These guys I have that I'm going to be introducing in just a second here, they've been around for a while. They've seen some things they can't unsee, and they've got some stories to share. And we also want to hear from you guys too. So as they're sharing theirs, feel free to jump in the chat. And if you guys have a really good story, I'm sure Gavin does. I know he does. We'll be able to bring you on and give you some prizes in exchange for that. So let's kick this thing off here. First, introductions. I already introduced myself there. I'm Jonathan Malicious Matt Crowe, Director of Content Community in NinjaOne. We also have with us Matt Fox, the Kerninator. Matt, with the nicknames there, this is like a typography reference. Maybe also some Trogdor the Burninator reference going on.
I thought my name was Maddie.
I don't know. You've got your cat. Well, and actually, you've got another guest there with you. What's your cat's name?
Oh, this is Big Pete.
So Matt and Big Pete, great to have you here. We also have Tom. I know what you installed last summer, Lawrence, of Lawrence Technology Services. If you've been on YouTube, you've probably seen Tom's videos. Tom does so much for the channel. So many good reviews, but also great just thought leadership and sharing what's working with his business. Tom, thanks so much for being here.
I'm excited, and you I think I may have something to do with the Toe of Satan being here too. So
you absolutely do. Yeah, this fire is appropriate, I believe, because you're kind of a ringer with this challenge. You have done all of these things. I asked Tom if I thought no one would have heard of something called the Toe of Satan. Tom's like, yeah, we tried that a couple years ago. So Tom, this is not your first ride. You're coming back to the Toe of Satan. I'm excited to see how you do. Oh yeah.
Oh, this is good.
Oh my god, this was brilliant.
Your last name was the best. It was the easiest one, right? Jason Slagle from CNWR IT Consultants. Jason, thanks so much for being here.
He's updating his LinkedIn right now to change it to this.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that seems like a thing I would do, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
And then, oh yes, the MVP himself, Kelvin INVOKE-TERROR Tegelaar. CTO of Lime Networks.
The scariest photo. That's the scariest photo of them all. Look at the calm eyes. You don't know what's going on behind them.
I didn't actually have to modify this one at all. This was just a photo that Kelvin had. Kelvin is actually hundreds of years old. That's how he's gotten so good at scripting. Also, in addition to his day job, he's also a blogger. He's created CyberDrain.com. Amazing resource for anyone who doesn't know about it. Go check it out. Kelvin blogs regularly, releases scripts. You've also been busy, my friend, with some other bigger projects, and I think you'll have a chance to talk about that in more detail later. But you want to give a quick shout out for something you're working on?
Yeah, sure. So I've been working on this CyberDrain improved partner portal, and it's a Microsoft 365 multi-tenant management tool. And that's just the best way to describe it. And it's much better than all the Lighthouse and all the other stuff that's on the market right now because it's more oriented at MSP workflow. So I guess that's the best description.
I love it. I dropped a link to it. People should check it out.
Thanks.
All right. And then I'm going to switch out. Let's see here. I'm going to let Tom introduce himself. But to do that, I'm going to have to switch a little thing right here to get Tom back on the screen. So let me pull up Tom here. and I will speak for Tom a little bit. Tom is our channel chief advisor. He has been with Ninja. We started our MSP live chats back around a year ago, and Tom is a former MSP owner, and I can't wait for you to see his costume when he comes on screen. Here he comes. Look at this. Tom, you got to show off the claws too, my friend. Look at that.
That is commitment.
I love the sound of those too, because you can tell those aren't like plastic claws.
Yeah,
Like, what did you do?
They're 440 stainless. They're dangerous.
Oh my God, guys. We have a great panel, as you can see. Let's go over our agenda a little bit. We've got our wicked welcome. We're going to be recording this so you can relive all of this in all of its horror. But the first thing we've got going on here, I'm going to direct your attention to the polls down below. And Dom, thank you so much. Dom is our content manager on the back end here. He's launched a couple of polls there. One of them you guys are already voting on, and that's the 6-word horror stories. We're going to get to that, announce what that's all about in a minute. But first, we've got what is the worst IT nightmare this year? And we've got some options for you guys. And for those who are picking other, drop what you're thinking of in the chat. I want to know what you guys are thinking. I love people are impressed with your Wolverine, Tom. Truly impressive. So while you guys are voting on that, another quick look ahead here. We're also going to be talking about, obviously we're sharing horror stories, right? Then we're going to get into how to survive an IT horror movie. Those are our rules, kind of like a la Scream. These are things you can and can't do if you actually want to survive an IT horror movie. And then we're going to get into our prizes, and we're going to do our Helpdesk Hellfire challenge. Guys, we were talking about this in leading up to this, and I wanted to do this at the very beginning, and Tom, having the experience, was like, no, do this at the end.
Just in time for me to go to a client meeting.
Just in time for Jason to show up and put his best foot forward. Okay, yes, exactly, prizes. Everybody wants to know, right? And so what are we giving away? We're going to give away 5 IT survival packs. And what those are, we've got a Ninja Timbuktu backpack. And it's going to be stuffed inside with some Death Wish coffee, because, I mean, survival, right? Bacon on the go. This is individually wrapped bacon that's fully cooked and flavored that you can just pop open and eat. And then we got this multi-tool here, the Geek Key. And then not pictured here, you're also going to be getting a Ninja water bottle. So you'll be able to hydrate, caffeinate.
Those have to go in them.
I think we have to put some kind of disclaimer on there if we're sending out the toe of Satan. I don't know. We may have to talk to legal about that. We'll see. Okay, so let's get into this. And Matt, I'm going to bring you back on the screen in just 1 second. Let's look at the poll, guys, and let's leave this up for a second just so people can see the options here. And I'm going to bring Matt on and let you guys take it away. What was the worst IT nightmare this year? We were talking in advance of this too that, man, every year is rough in IT, right? But this one, I don't know what it is. This one just has felt especially rough and for a large part due to these options that we have on screen. So interested to see what people are saying in the polls. It looks like the Microsoft Exchange vulnerabilities are actually coming out on top. They're edging out the Print Nightmare option. I want to see who else is saying what are their options here in the chat. But let's pull this down, get Matt back on the screen, and guys, why don't you answer this too, Jason? I know you have some experience. I mean, you had to deal with all this stuff, obviously. What was the big one for you? Yeah,
I mean, so we don't let our clients run on-site Exchange, so I only have one co-managed customer that I deal with. So that was kind of a non-issue for us, right? But Print Nightmare, man, it's just like the flipping gift that keeps on giving, right? Like it's a thing. You can get popped by it, and then like literally every week there's some sort of update or thing, and I think we've completely broken printing for clients at least 5 or 6 times throughout the year. And in the most recent time, we didn't even have to do anything, just patches installed, and now none of their print drivers work. So it is definitely been, over the past 2 months, probably 30 to 40% of our service desk time has been printer-related issues due to Print Nightmares. So it's been pretty terrible.
Wow. And I mean, and you were saying too that you actually took the hard line. You're like, yep, yeah. Well, no one's going to print.
Yep, when it first came out, that first weekend, we're like, they'll have a patch Monday. So we're like, we're just going to turn printing off over the weekend. Needless to say, they didn't have a patch Monday or the following Monday, or I think like several Mondays following that. So, then we're in like crazy workaround like hell, and it just wasn't fun.
No, I mean, dealing printers, never fun, right? But I mean, this is nuts. I see Tom, Lawrence, you're nodding your head there too. How's it been for you?
I think we now get anxiety whenever there's a ticket open with printer, and it's just this year's been really rough. It was always bad before. No one wants to deal with the printer problem, but now we know that we may have been partially causing it by patching and updating. So now it's like, which printer problem is it? The one that the printer companies created with stupid drivers, or is the one Microsoft created? Either way, it's my problem. It's not going to be fun to fix.
Exactly.
Yeah, Kelvin, how about yourself? I mean, would you rank that one top for you, or is it something else?
For us this year, actually, the printer nightmare wasn't that much of an issue. A lot of our clients are completely cloud only, so we were lucky enough to use external tooling, no print servers, all that kind of stuff. So printers weren't really an issue, but still some things broke with patches. I mean, it was unpreventable. Some things started breaking down. So printers are somewhere at the top of the list, but for the entire industry, I'd say the Kaseya ransomware industry was a big wake-up call. Like, holy crap. This just happened. The largest ransomware attack in history was performed, well, thanks to MSPs, or at least to MSP clients. So it was, of course, a problem with Kaseya software, but generally speaking, MSP clients got hit. So I think that's the thing that had the biggest impact this year. But regarding ticketing and actually bothering the workflow, definitely printers, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, the Kaseya thing, we of course, Ninja being primarily an RMM there too, I mean, we had a lot of questions that we're answering from partners, and had some webinars. I mean, it sent everyone for, security is always top of mind, but it's just one of those reminders of like, this is the stuff that keeps you up at night, literally. And so it really rocked our world for sure too. Looking in the comments here, I see a couple of things that came up. Supply issues. So even going back throughout the pandemic, I don't know if you guys have been seeing that kind of throughout, but getting your hands on the right hardware.
Any hardware.
And then
it doesn't even have to be the right hardware.
Yeah, exactly. There's devices we still can get, and they're saying like, oh yeah, the chip shortage has been slowly being resolved, so you should be able to order new machines. Yeah, you try ordering good, decent hardware right now.
Yeah, and then the other thing I see too is a comment that Chris made, insurance, which I mean that touches everything, right? Like, I mean, this is something that comes up with our partners all the time, is that the insurance companies realize, well, the cyber insurance stuff, we're just getting hammered. We've got to up our requirements, and so he's saying some changes.
We're not qualifying
on that
for insurance too. I mean, I've had a lot of people. I've been hearing about that. They're not able to get it, and that's a huge business problem.
Yeah, I think
absolutely.
There's only 3 or 4 underwriters left that are willing to write an MSP at this point.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so just, I mean, I've heard applications going from, a couple years ago being these 1-2 page things, now they're 5 pages and getting very, very intensive. And people struggling with rates getting raised and all that good stuff.
My business manager formerly came from the insurance industry of 26 years, and so he's got a lot of context in there. Basically, the insurance industry said, "There's money in them computer guys. We can make a bunch of money insuring." Oh, we didn't really mitigate the risk. We didn't think about the entire scope of what this actually means, and of course, it's that. Kind of feeding it, because once there was more money from insurance to pay out, the ransomware actors go, hey, look at that. These guys have insurance now, they can pay. My favorite nightmare one was, if you remember that incident in Florida where they actually they hacked the city and then called the insured. They didn't even tell the city people. They called the insured. We already know this. We're just saving a step. We already hacked your clients. Pay us.
Wow.
Incredible.
That's like that's efficiency when you contact the insurance provider.
Yeah, you know who to call.
You talk to the ransom people.
You know the limits too, so you can ask for like exactly as much as
exactly.
they're willing to pay.
Exactly.
Yeah, I didn't pull the policy off a computer.
Well, this is actually fun twist here. We dug into this a little bit, reading about it, and we pretty sure, we don't know for sure we didn't talk to like the FBI who investigated this, but we deferred based on our own digging through some open source intelligence. Is, you know what's in city council meetings? Your insurance coverage. it's voted on. And so you can just go look around some websites, read some city council meetings, you get some information, and you're like, oh, they're insured for this much. I mean, think about that for a second. And then other cities have council meetings. You can search for this, they loaded a PDF. It was kind of like, wow, this is how they did it, like to get that knowledge.
Yep, absolutely. Well, Matt, I want to give you a chance to jump in here too. I mean, so you are with an MSP, Valiant Technology, out of New York, out of Long Island. And yeah, I mean,
did you just give me my personal address location?
That's it. I just doxed you.
Let's just get into this for a second, because I've been speechless. I've been very quiet so far because I can't get my eyes off of Tom. He is so in character.
Well, who can blame
ridiculous. You? I'm intimidated. I'm like nervous right now. I'm going to say the wrong thing. I'm going to slice
the whole. You're not even seeing the whole thing. I got the belt buckle, guys. Everything. Look,
oh, we don't need to see the belt buckle.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, legit claws.
Yeah, all right. So I work for an MSP based in New York City. I'm physically located on Long Island, but actually in Amityville, where the horror house is. Little theme there.
Appropriate.
But you know, and I've been removed from hands-on IT for 5 or 6 years now. So I think that the way I see things is going to be a little bit different, because you know I'm not getting really into the work, but man, everything that went on with Exchange in the past year has just given me flashbacks of when I did run IT departments, and it's nauseating. It's anxiety-inducing, and you know, to say have a conversation with Kelvin over something in the evening that's going on, and we'll chat. And I have not had that sense of paranoia or anxiety since getting out of IT. I think that's natural for that role. And I mean, between that and just Kaseya, I mean, that was a very large, publicly visible incident. I think that's the big part of it. It raised awareness to a lot of companies what an MSP was, in both good and bad ways. And I think that there will be benefits that come from it that help people. But yeah, I mean, those were big things. 2021 just beat people, you know, on multiple fronts.
It's not over yet, my friend.
Yeah, it's still coming.
The countdown's still going. Oh, the fuse is almost at the bottom. It's going to explode soon. But yeah, I think that it's a tie between Kaseya and Exchange for me. The printing stuff, yeah, if I was still actually working and dealing with big production printers still, I would have probably lost my mind. Literally, just been done. But yeah, let's get into some horror stories, man. I got some good stuff.
Yeah. Well, okay. Well, then I think you should probably take this on. You can kick us off here. I mean, I will give us a little bit of a preamble here that, like I mentioned before in the chat, if you've got a good one that you're sitting on, let us know, and we can bring you on to share too. But what I love about this panel, Matt, you were mentioning you've been out of hands-on work for a little while now, but you told me some of your stories, and what I like is an ongoing theme is I think we're all. I think, yeah, good sagas. Also, a lot of physical harm, which I think we're all here for, right? There's some slap,
fire, getting hit by buses. It happens, right?
Wait, hold on. Getting hit by buses? I think that's the one you have to lead with.
No. That's an offline conversation when the bus. But yeah, if you want to get me into full screen so people can get the full effect of. Ooh, look at that! All right, so. Let me get some notes. I had to get some notes together because it was a big deal, but this first story took place between December 2000 and November 2001, so it's so far back I can sit here and laugh about it, and I hope that people get some laughs from it as well. It's my first job. I was there for about 10 months, and the CIO left. I was his assistant, and we had a new CIO come in, and you could tell from the beginning he wasn't a good fit, and it was really bad because the president goes, hey, this is Callahan. He's really nerdy. It's going to work. That's not a qualification. Show me something. Show me experience. Especially, I'm like 20 years old. I'm like, no, I want to work with someone that knows what they're talking about. So anyway, we'll just call him Callahan because that's his last name. He probably isn't even around anymore, so who cares? You ever work with someone that always tries to connect with you at a level that's it's not professional, like buddy, and you're just like, sorry, it's not happening? This guy came to work one day dressed like me. Like in jeans and in a shirt, and it was like the equivalent. He was like 25 years older than me. Just get that out there. It was like the Steve Buscemi "Hello, fellow teens" meme, you know. And it's just like, all right, stop it. So, all right. Anyway, one day he's talking to me. He's like, "What are you listening to? You always listen to music." I was like, "I'm listening to Poison the Well. What do you want from me?" I go back to work. The next day, he shows up wearing a Poison T-shirt. You know, like Tommy Lee, Poison. And I'm just looking at the guy like, "Come on, man, this is getting really weird." So anyway, a couple of weeks go by. I get into the office, can't get onto the internet. You know, I look at the smart jack for the T1, I look at the CSU, I look at the router, everything's looking good. We were running Microsoft proxy server back then. And that's how long ago it was. And there was 0 disk space on the machine because this genius decided to install LimeWire. And when I went poking around, I realized what was going on. He had downloaded all of Poison the Well's catalog, Limp Bizkit, which was the thing he was rocking left and right at the time. And, you know, that ended up in a full rebuild of everything to get internet access. That really kept us down for a while. And that was just the beginning of Callahan. But, I mean, think about that. You've got a CIO who decided to install music sharing software in a proxy server. That's just a nightmare. I'm looking at... anyway. Okay. So anyway, a few weeks go by. Everything's cool. We got a great donation of brand new cubicles, like really high-end steel case ones. And I was asked to go ahead and clear out the space, work with a contractor, do all this great work. And as I was learning a little bit more about the building, I had learned that someone had actually been murdered on our floor. You know, we were on the 29th floor of a building on Wall Street. There was some kind of financial company that was in there before us. They had a like a gym, and there was an argument, and someone got their skull crushed with a weight. And,
wow.
You know, that led to us getting a discount, apparently, so that was great. Anyway, this story's in my head. I decide, you know what, these cubicles are beautiful. I want to make sure that they're properly hardwired into the network. I got the network drops done. I'm going to, you know, punch everything down directly into them. I'm going to stay overnight and do the work. It's like 3 a.m. I've got music playing. I'm just doing what I got to do. And I hear this kind of type sound. And I'm like, whoa, what was that? What was that? All right, it's the door. That's fine. All right, let me get back to work. And you start hearing like footsteps that were not right, like the gate was off, something's wrong. And I'm thinking, oh man, well, someone got killed up here. It's got to be a ghost, right? I mean, I'm done. I'm done for. And I'm hanging out behind, underneath one of the tables for the cubicles I was building, and I see a shadow underneath. And at this point, I'm really getting nervous, and I just ball my fist up like this, like whatever's going to happen, it's going down. It's just going to be what it is. And the next thing you know, there are 2 legs in front of me at the desk. So I just swing away. I mean, like full on, what's the guy's name from Signs? The whole swing away thing. Anyway, I nail the dude in his crotch, and you just hear, ugh! And he starts to fall. But he doesn't just fall. He hits his face into the desk's surface, right? So you hear just like that. And then he falls back. He whacks the back of his head into the wall and then finally lands. And I'm like, oh, hey, Tom. Oh, shit. Now you got his whole name. Excuse me. My fault. And I'm like, oh,
who's
hey.
doxing who now?
Yeah.
Come on.
Oops. All right. He's a nice guy. No more about him. Actually, a lot more about him. But so yeah, he ended up getting a concussion and a serious groin injury because he decided to walk into the office at 3 a.m. and see what was going on. You can tell this dude was a mess. Now the last part of him, let me just get into my notes because I don't want to say anything wrong.
This is when you actually put him out of his misery and you murder him, Matt? Is this where this is going?
I mean, kind of. You know, he ended up getting our entire cabinet in the data center hacked that we had some stuff in, and it took like 28 hours to get that back up and running. And ultimately, we knew he wasn't going to be a good fit for the company, and nobody wanted to be the one to let him go. Think about that for a second. You're in a company, you've got a COO, you've got a CFO, you've got all these people, very nice people, by the way. I'm still in touch with a lot of them. And they're like, yeah, we're afraid to let this guy go. So I was like, the hell with it, I'll do it. I'll take care of it. And the CFO gave me his credit card. I took him to lunch, and he didn't come back with me. And that was the end of it. After that, they let me have his office, and they were going to repaint it. And I was cleaning it out, and I found something like 15 or 20 empty cups of miso soup. Not empty, sorry, full containers of miso soup like you'd get from like a takeout restaurant in his desk and all sorts of stuff. So we ended up just literally throwing everything in the office out and starting over because he was such a nightmare. I mean, he was a nightmare. And the thing that he said, and this is kind of like how I want to end the story, is we were in a meeting talking about a lot of things that were just not working out properly. It was a big full staff meeting. And he actually said, if I wasn't so good at my, if I wasn't, what was it? If I was, I want to get this right. I don't want to mess it up. If I wasn't so good at my job, you wouldn't be so good at yours. Basically saying, I'm terrible at what I do. He admitted that in the middle of a meeting, you know, and I think that sealed the coffin for him. That was like the final nail. And then that was the end of the Callahan saga. How much more time do I have here, Jonathan? I got some funny stuff going on that I can add. You guys ever set a machine on fire intentionally?
Well, I think you're gonna have a chance to, yeah. Like, so I'm gonna get to the machine on fire, the falling through ceilings and stuff. But I think we need to pass it on to another person right here and come back to it. But man, ghoulish story of a coworker that wasn't working out, and I guess any other lesson learned other than like having to like make some hard decisions sooner.
Well, I think the lesson learned from that, I mean, I was really young. I was not in a place to be able to make really big decisions. But, you know, if there's something that you really love doing, you stick through it. You make sure it works out. And I think that the big lesson I learned is that age doesn't always equate to wisdom. That was the big part for me. He's a CIO. He's accomplished. He's been doing this 25, 30 years, but everything is breaking. And I think that also is a lesson that, you know, technology education is important. It's ongoing. It's nonstop. And the moment that you decide you don't want to continue learning is the moment you become Callahan. And
oh man,
it's always been in the back of that's always been in the back of my head, and it's always driven me to learn new things and do other stuff, because the sense of stagnancy in expertise with him is really what, man, it was like Spidey Sense Central. You know, you start like realizing it left and right. But yeah, man, go to someone else, and I'll come back with some fire stories. I do have some good fire stories.
All right, sounds good. How about Kelvin? Let's turn it over to you, my friend.
Sure. So I only have like nerdy horror stories, and this is from the time the one that always the one that I carried with me a long time was because this was pretty much one of the biggest mistakes I've ever made in my IT career. Actually, two of them. Same client, co-managed client that specializes in big data, and these clients are amazing because clients that specialize in big data are often nerds themselves. So they want the best technology. They want the best kind of stuff. And they know a thing or two about tech. So the first thing that happened when we took this client over was they said, okay, hey, we want a new data warehouse server. It's for development purposes only. And that was already the trigger. I should have said, no, it's not. You're going to run production on it. I know it. But they were like, okay, you know, it's for development. And this was in 2008-ish, and they said we want it fully stacked with SSDs. And 2008 and SSDs was pricey, and then they went like, we want it stacked with 1 terabyte SSDs. So we went to Dell, asked for a quote for a single 1 terabyte SSD. And Dell in 2008-ish went like, yeah, that's going to be $8,000 per SSD. So the client, of course, blown away, said, yeah, that's not possible. So one of the things they figured themselves was, okay, you know what? Just order the server with just normal disks, and we'll replace them with other disks. That was already trigger number 2, where I should have said, no, stop. What you're thinking right now is not going to work. So eventually we did order the server because, you know what? It was still like we weren't completely managing them. It wasn't going to be our problem. We'd still make some money. So we decided, you know what? Let's do this. Ordered the server. They came to our office with their SSDs. Oh, my camera just dropped out, I think.
Spooky.
Oh. So they came to our office with the SSDs. And that was the moment where I was like, okay. They came to the office with the first Samsung Evo SSDs that were just released back then. So that was already one of the moments like, okay, you know what? This is just going to be terrible. This is going to end poorly. I already know it. We made sure their server was ready for use, everything, all the SSDs installed, and the server we bought was like an R710 or an R700, so a Dell server with 24 1 terabyte SSDs. We started putting in the disks, we installed everything, and that worked perfectly. It booted, everything worked. So we installed it into the data center. They started working on it. About 2 months later, they called us. Hey, the server's no longer working. Can you check what's happening? So that was actually a data center that was a 2-hour drive away. So back then, I was still like a technology guy. I decided I'll get in the car. And a 2-hour drive in the Netherlands, I mean, I know most of the people here are Americans. A 2-hour drive in the Netherlands is like going from Texas to California for you guys. That's the equivalent here. So I got into the car, drove those 2 hours, terrible 2 hours, brought 2 lunch bags, stopped 5 times to get a meal, all that kind of stuff. And eventually got in their data center. And I I was shocked. I connected the monitor, and I was shocked the first thing I saw. I looked at the monitor, and it said, RAID failure. I was like, okay, you know what? One of the disks failed or something, and it just didn't boot. And I rebooted the server, and suddenly, magically, it booted again. So I was like, okay, what's going on here? Rebooted the server again, and again, RAID failure. So it turns out that putting 24 disks into a Dell R710 or 700, something like that, but just a big box with lots of disks, the RAID controller will actually time out at the moment that you have that many SSDs in there, because it's expecting the disks to be slower, to spin them up, and to get access to them. And if it gets instant access, the RAID controller will actually just choke itself. So I rebooted the server one more time, and poof, all of the data was gone. All of the data was gone. That 24 terabytes, or those 24 disks, 1 terabyte per disk, 12 terabyte usable space, all of it was gone. And I was like, holy crap, what just happened? I called the client, explained to them the situation. They said, yeah, it's no problem. It's a development server. I called Dell. Dell actually explained to us, yeah, this is something that happens with that controller. There's an internal firmware update we have available for it, but you'll have to install it before you lose any data. So eventually we spoke to the client again, and they were like, yeah, we don't have backups of that server. And actually, our biggest production database was on there. And that was the moment that, yeah, we started shouting at them a little, getting into, well, yeah, standard client, semi-co-managed MSP stuff. So yeah, that was my horror story. No backups, RAID failure, completely unsupported configuration in each and every way. I mean, that there was no way you could have figured that this would have been supported at any point in time. So yeah.
Wow. And Kelvin, hopefully we can get your video back on, sir. But man, like, where do you even go from there? I mean, is it just like
home? Home. You go home. Exactly. You take a 2-hour drive. You take a 2-hour drive back home, and you sit down. You stop a couple of times. You take a meal, and then you come home, and you just
I just imagine Kelvin being like, forget this, I'm going to Applebee's, and walking around.
That's actually, so I was actually really like, okay, I'm not going to curse, but I was like, fudge this, I'm going home. This is not my problem.
Well, then actually, okay, so that's going to go right to our rules for survival, too. I love that kind of teased that up. Kelvin, thank you so much for sharing that. And before we jump over, Tom Lawrence, I'm going to tee you up in a second, but let's see if James wants to come on, because James in the chat was hinting that he has a good story, and Tom was saying, like, yeah, let's get James on here. So, Kelvin, I'm going to give you the boot for just a second while the video issue is happening to you. And James, I'm going to invite you on. And while we're waiting for you, James, Tom, do you want to tee up your story just a little bit? Give you a little teaser?
Me time. Make sure I got 3 times.
Yes, I'm sorry
Just
about that.
Lawrence.
Tom Lawrence.
All right,
Lawrence.
Yeah, I made a video about this, and it's a little bit longer because I have a lot of visuals in it, but we'll do the worst cabling job ever. We do a lot of physical infrastructure, and this one is just, some of you may, from my channel, may have seen the video. It's got a lot of views, but yeah, it's definitely going to be one to talk about.
Yeah, well, actually, you know what? Let's get into it. I've invited James on here, but while he's connecting, let's go ahead and get into your story. I'm going to give you the spotlight here.
Okay, this was a lot of fun because I like that we have contractors and we do infrastructure. It's something we started doing years ago. I know it's not something every MSP does, but still the rules apply of when you manage a project of scope creep, managing expectations, and dealing with crazy people. And the crazy people part was what made this so much fun. And the way you mitigate some of these problems when someone has unreasonable requests is not always by saying no. That's the right answer, but I still did that other answer of, I'll just say a price that no one should pay to get this done because it's a bad idea, and then they paid it. And you're like, well, I guess I have to do the thing they said. They're like, we want to complete it by this unreasonable date. I'm like, that would require bringing 13 extra contractors. And they reply with, well, how much will that cost? Okay, this much. So it started out as a simple wiring project we bid. We did know that the people had originally bid it dropped out for unknown reasons. We also know, talking to the GC, who was the replacement general contractor, these are a lot of red flags, by the way, and this is about 200 drops of Cat 6A plenum. This is, you know, decent size project, but we know that the GC was new, and we also knew the electricians were new. And then there was this suspicious pile in the back, fenced off, of all brand new electrical boxes that were ripped out. And I said, why? Those look like brand new. Why are they being ripped out instead of being put in? They said, well, they underspec'd the original electrician before they fired him. They underspec'd electrical, so we're the new electrician replacing it. Like, there's a few red flags. Like, this project may not be well managed, but, you know, we keep going. So we get the bid, and then the walls are going up, and we are starting to wire the walls before the drywall's on. And then we come in one day, and the wall's gone. And we're like, what happened to the wall we wired? And they're like, oh, we moved it. So they would build another wall. And they're like, we have to charge you again to wire it. Yeah, we just cut all your wires. So go repull them all again. By the way, these are a 30-foot ceiling. So we've got boom lifts. We got everything. So my crew rewires a new wall. And then they moved it again. And then they moved an entire, there was 3 IDFs. And they moved one of our IDFs. They just decided it was going to be something else. And we had our cable falls in, but we hadn't put the racks in yet. And they once again just said, it goes this way now. They dropped all the wires. They actually took our J-hooks down and just dropped it and left a giant pile. And I got some of the huge, we wasted thousands and thousands of feet of cable that was already run, but they would cut back. But my favorite one is when, these are multiple locations that were being built. We were handling the one that's in our area, is the CIO comes in. He flies in. I'm not there when he gets there. And he's wandering around pointing about things he wants done and just how he thinks the place should be run differently, whatever. It wasn't like an official meeting. But then he grabbed a can of spray paint and he cut the server room in half. He just drew a line with spray paint. So this is the new wall we're putting up in the server room. The problem is we'd already installed all the ladder rack at a certain height, and it went across for the cable falls to come to where the servers are. The split AC units were already installed in the room. He drew a wall to put it on the other side of the split. And we're all looking at each other when we seen, because we didn't know what the paint was on the floor. And we're like, this is where a new wall's going. We're like, well, the wrong part of the room where the servers are going won't be AC, and the smaller closet he made will be AC. And AC guys are like, good, not my problem. No one told me to move it. So it was like one thing after another that kept happening. But one of my favorite ones is the drop ceiling move. They decided arbitrarily to take the drop ceilings and move them down. This is after fire and safety had come through and put all the, if you know how it comes through drop ceiling, like the fire things, they come through the drop ceiling and they cut them to height. They had to, when they moved the drop ceiling, they had to redo unpressurized fire and safety, drain it, which was a mess, recut the pipes and move them. And then we had to remove all of our racks and everything again to the new adjusted ceiling height. But some of the lessons learned we had in there, though, was really every step of the way, we took 1 million pictures, and everything I got in writing. I would verbally say something, and the company, to try to avoid paying things, would always not want to reiterate it back, but we would always force them before we'd actually show up to give us more than the usual deposits, or even because we quoted so much for the extra contractors, was we were just like, all right, this is what you got to do. You got to have to pay us. We want, we would refer to them as just another mobility thing, where we're like, if you wanted to get us deployed 13 more contractors than were originally done, this is how much it's going to cost. We need the money now, because we don't trust you're going to pay us in. We were like as bold and honest as, we made the situations awkward with them. Like, we don't think you'll actually pay us because I gave you a price that's not reasonable. And they said, well, we need it done, and we want this. We have an open date we want to meet. So it was kind of fun. And then when the open date came, only half the building worked because we got it wired. We did our part. We did do some stupid things. Like we share the people who did the drink fountains, because this is part of a family fun center. The tubes underground that come up, so you have like standalone kiosks. The Cat 6 cable is run along next to the Coke machine, how they have all the little soda cable stuff. It's all in the same tubes. But some of the electrical stuff was just incapable of being done by the time they opened. But in the end, although it took a long time, they paid us 90% of the bill, and the last 10% they trickled over like 6 months, which took a while before I did the video, because they actually paid. But having everything in writing meant every time they wanted to argue with us, we're like, here's a photo, here's what you said, here's what happened, here's the updated blueprints, here's all this. I mean, we were taking pictures as they marked up blueprints and told us different things. But it was one of the most complicated, for no reason other than people kept changing their mind, jobs. But in the end, we actually made money out. That's the part that blew my mind. Everyone hates that job and no one wants to talk about it. We actually put a lot of hours in to make it happen, but everyone got bonused out for it too. So it was kind of, yeah, it was rough. It was a rough one. I said, I have a lot of visuals in my video.
Oh man, I can't. Yeah, you should definitely drop a link to the video in the chat so we can check out those photos. You're also a great follower on YouTube, of course, and Twitter because you're always sharing amazing photos from cabling jobs and things like that. I love this story because it's we hear often people will say like, oh yeah, just charge come up with an amount that is stupid, that's a dumb amount of money, and if they pay it, then somehow it'd be worth it. But here in your case, it ended up being that way. But I kind of wonder too if I'm sure you regretted it multiple times.
Oh, we so regretted it. We were there till 3 in the morning a couple times. We put in 16-hour days to complete it, but we billed them for it. It was it's oh, I'd work for that much, but when you're actually working for that much, no, I don't. I'd rather be at home. If there's anything I'd rather be doing than this, because this is cable crimping. We have people in my office who don't crimp cables, crimping cables, because a lot of it was just testing, not necessarily crimping. But there's so many drops, they all wanted them tested. So you guys have to run around and plug these things in, sit around with label printers and put stickers on things. How long are we doing it for? Till it's done. How many are there? I'm 240 drops.
Amazing. Oh my God. Well, hey, Tom, thank you for sharing that one. And yeah, definitely drop that link in. And James, thanks for sitting tight, buddy. And thank you for coming on. So tell us a little bit about yourself before you dive into your story real quick.
Sure. Yeah, you guys are flashing me back, or in particular, flashing me back to my MSP PM days. It's one of those projects that's every day is what's it going to be today, and that's one of those things where you come in and hey, we moved the IDF, no big deal, right? Yeah. So I am currently I feel I don't even want to admit this with all the talk about CIOs that you guys have been talking about, but I'm currently the CIO at a behavioral healthcare organization in upstate New York. Before that, I worked for several different MSPs in various roles, from engineering to project management, as well as some VCIO consulting. And then before that, and where this story will take place, I cut my teeth originally in a small town hospital setting in healthcare IT, coming up the whole technical ranks. Started when I was 17 as a help desk guy, lowest man on the totem pole kind of, and then kind of worked my way up technically from there.
Wow, nice. All right, well, I can't wait to hear this story. So yeah, let's get into it.
Yeah, so I've never told this story on I guess in virtual before, in virtual form before. We'll see how it goes, but there's going to be some charades that happen. But I guess some things you need to know to start the story is that, like I said, this is hospital IT. I'm probably 18, 19 years old. I'm a help desk, level 1 help desk guy. I'm probably about a year into the job or so, and we work in really tight quarters. So I sit facing forward. Behind me is kind of a junior engineer, and then behind him would be the senior engineer, senior analyst, and the director's office is somewhere off to the side. So when help desk calls come in, it's not infrequent for me to take calls, and then if I have a question, someone can lean over and be like, oh, help. They can help from behind, basically. So and like I said, very tight space. We're crammed in a hospital basement. I'm sure anyone who's worked in healthcare understands. And then there's always the the stigma of, for whatever reason, people in healthcare, I'm not afraid to admit it, something about technology and healthcare, just they don't love each other. But so the story starts where I pick up a help desk call, and it's from the emergency room. They dial in on a specific help desk line in particular because there's a bunch of things that we support. We have obviously an EHR and an IT division. But I pick up the help desk call, and it's a nurse that is known to the department. You guys get where I'm going with that. And she says, hey, I'm having some trouble. Can you, whatever, I forget what the issue was, it's not important, but hey, can you sign in and take a look? And I said, sure, I'm happy to. At the time, we were using VNC Viewer as the remote tool deployed internally. Yeah. So I said, sure, okay. Well, I got to get in, and I said, what's the asset tag? And of course, she couldn't find the asset tag. After 10 minutes of gesticulating, we were unable to secure an asset tag. So all else fails. I said, okay. And, in the bottom right-hand corner on your toolbar, you have an icon. It's blue, red, and green. It says VNC. Can you hover your mouse over the icon for me? A box will pop up. You'll have a bunch of numbers. There's an IP address. Give me the IP. I'll get in that way. So she said, okay. And I said, great. I said, so this is what the icon looks like. You see it? She said, yeah, I see it. It's blue, red, and green. It says VNC. I'm like, that's the one. Put your mouse over it. Let me know what happens. She goes, okay. So I'm sitting there, cue Jeopardy music. And I'm like, okay. Then you should see a little box pop up. What do you see? And she said, nope, nothing. And I said, okay. You know, I said, all right, well, why don't you try moving your mouse off it? You know, come back on. Again, this is what the icon looks like. It's these colors. It says this. You see that icon. She calls out back to me. She goes, "Yup, it's white. It looks exactly like this." I know she's looking at the right thing. So I was like, okay, you know, hover the mouse over the icon again. Let me know what pops up. Now we've been doing this for like 15 minutes at this point. You know, we're well past the point of my, you know, if we weren't jammed from a project, I would have already sent the desktop guy just to go in person. It's what, you know, whatever. Probably something's gonna knock out in 3 minutes anyway. So the guys behind me at this point are, you know, they've figured out who it is. They know, they see the struggle, and they're somewhat entertained by this already. So she goes to hover the mouse over the icon again, and she goes, you know, I'm like, what are you seeing? Any pop up? And she goes, no pop up. So we try a few more things, and long story short is, I'm thinking she's either not hovering the mouse over the right thing, even though she's telling me she is, or whatever. All right, so eventually I said, okay, you know, I'm gonna rip a project guy off a project, and we're gonna send the desktop guy to come get you. They were off wiring a ceiling somewhere else in the hospital. You know, this is 25 minutes deep. Yeah, for sure. So I call. I said, okay, well, tell you what, you know, I'm gonna have someone come down to you. Just sit tight. You know, thanks for your patience. We'll get someone right over to you. We'll take care of it. And she goes, okay. And I was like, all right. So I go to hang up the phone, and as I'm hanging up the phone, I hear her go, hey, James. So I put the phone back up to my ear. I'm thinking maybe she got the pop up, and she goes, hey, can I put my arm down while I wait for them to come up? And I said, well, it struck me. It took me aback. I said, can I put my arm down? And then I just realized I'm holding on the mouse, my computer. I take and I hold, and I just did this. And I just held it up to the screen, and I realized that's what she was doing. She was holding her mouse literally over the icon. So I hold my mouse up to the screen, right? And I kind of just ineptly did it, just thinking about it, and then, you know, cover my mouth almost immediately. The guy behind me sees obviously what I just did, spits out coffee all over his monitor. I mean, all over his monitor. Goes to like catch it, knocks the monitor off. I'm wearing shorts. Monitor falls off his desk, hits the back of my leg, and scrapes the hell out of the back of my leg. Long story short, I ended up going to the emergency room to get my leg bandaged and wrapped up by the nurse that I couldn't tell why my leg had just been cut. And the reason because the whole thing, and I said, yeah, first of all, there was the hustle and all the things crashing and my stifling a scream as my leg gets sliced open, and I was like, yeah, you can put your arm down. You know what? I think I'm going to be there in about 5 minutes. And so I was. And then, of course, the issue took 22 seconds to resolve total. It was a Citrix thing. Isn't it always? So that's the story that's held up, but it's just, she's like, yeah, so I'm sorry. Well, she's sitting there, and she's literally the one doing the triage. She's wrapping up my leg while we're doing that, and I'm laughing, and I'm trying to think now. I got to dance for 10 minutes around not telling the story of how I just cut my leg being an IT employee sitting at a desk. But that's a story I still tell to this day, and it's kind of what I think of as like the quintessential healthcare help desk IT story.
That is amazing. As people in the comments are chiming in too, James, thank you so much. That's incredible. Thank you so much for coming on for that. And James, we're gonna get you one of those IT survival packs for coming
awesome.
on. For your bravery.
That's dope. Yeah, that sounds great. Thank you very much. Yeah, thanks for having me. This has been awesome too. Thanks for a couple awesome laughs in an otherwise busy week.
Yeah. Well, hey, glad to provide, and thank you so much for giving us some too. That's awesome. Oh man, that was great. And so guys, like we blew through our time here, and Jason, I know you've got your client meeting, so we gotta kind of like hustle here. So what I would suggest is obviously we gotta get our challenge on. But before we do that, so Jason, I know you've got some stories.
I have a short one.
Okay, give us a short one, and while you're doing that, I'm gonna pull up some stuff on the screen too.
Okay, yeah. So this was an enterprise company that I worked at a handful of years ago. We get a call one day. They're re-roofing the data center, or actually the whole building, and it's a thunderstorm comes through. We get a call one day. Hey, some of the servers are down, and we're on call. So I roll in. I get there. One of my coworkers is mopping the floor is it would happen, the roofers clogged the roof drain with the roofing material, and it is raining water down on a 50 kilowatt EPS. And my coworker is sitting there mopping the aluminum raised floor with a mop. So that was like the one and only time I've ever gotten to press the big red button. So I mean, that's a super short one. It was a good day. Like, luckily no one got electrocuted, but it is never a good day when it is raining on the EPS in the data center.
Oh my God! Yeah, I mean, well, you mentioned the electrocution thing, and that's actually happened to some people you've worked with, right? And I know it's happened to Matt, who I'm going to bring on the screen back too. I'm going to get him and Kelvin back on, and then Tom too. Like, so you got really quickly while I'm pulling this last thing up, and then we got to hustle here. Do you have a story, anything about, like, I know you have one of your guys falling through a ceiling at one point.
Yeah, I had this one guy. He would fall through ceilings, drop those big corner, like, cubicle desks on himself, and then probably the greatest was just one day he rolls into my office. He's like, "Listen, I got to go to jail." I'm like, "Come on, man!" And he had broken down a door at a bar. And not really an IT story, but I had to pull funds out and go and pay for an $800 door so he could keep working and not go to jail. So I consider that a horror story.
I would say that qualifies. Okay, I'm going to bring Matt back on too so we can do this challenge, but really quickly, let me just go through some stuff. I'm going to send out this deck to people so you can see, you can have this to keep. And also, like, maybe we can continue some of this, even if it's just like me and Matt has offered, but maybe we can do a little bit of a continuation of this, like after hours or something, because this is pretty fun, guys. But yeah, so based off our rules here, I'm just gonna breeze through these because you want to see us suffer through this lollipop, right? How to survive an IT horror movie. We got never assume something works until you test it, right? Always bake on restoration taking longer than you think. Jason, I mean, you called that one out for sure. Yeah. Kelvin, this is one for you. Never trust a user. Everyone lies. You had you called out house. Yeah. And Tom Lawrence, like you were saying, you had the house poster in your office.
Yes,
actually,
we do, and it just says everybody lies. I remind all my help desk people.
Yep. The next two are the classics: no local admin, no exposed RDP, right? Then we got some more fun ones. Never make changes on a Friday. Actually monitor AV and EDR alerts, especially on Friday. Never assume risk over stuff that's not yours. That kind of came up with some of the things you were talking about. Next one definitely did. The document everything. People in the comments responding to Tom Lawrence's story with the CYA comments too. And then the don't just plan for the worst tabletop hit. So guys, I'm sorry we had to kind of like rush through this stuff, but oh man, we got to pick out our winner too. So really quickly, we asked people to share on social their 6-word IT horror stories, and man, you guys came through in a big way. And we got a poll down here. I see the winner by a pretty clear amount is the "Hey, while you're here, can you" option. Let's go through here and see whose IT horror story that was.
Admin? Oh, that one. Ugh.
Yeah, that was a bad one. It looks like Cody. Cody, you're going to be the winner of another IT survival pack, sir, for your submission there, if you're on the line here. We got a couple other good ones. I just want to scroll through this really quickly. I mean, the DNS is classic. I love these two both a lot. Just a temporary workaround one, especially.
There's nothing as permanent as that.
Yeah, that is the permanent one.
Oh, fantastic. Okay, all right, guys, here we go. Let's do this thing. So I'm going to get Matt back on the line here. And while I'm doing that, some context for the folks at home. So the Toe of Satan, described as the world's spiciest lollipop, 9 million Scoville unit. Jason, I think you were saying, like, what's pepper spray? It's like 3 million?
3 million, I think. 3 to 6 million for pepper spray.
All right, so 900 times hotter than a jalapeno. What we're gonna do here is we're gonna adjust this a little bit since we're running out of time. And we're going to go ahead and I'm gonna pull up a timer.
I think it actually smells good. It actually smells good. It smells like cinnamon.
I don't believe you there at all.
Like there's some cinnamon in it.
Are you doing it, Jonathan?
I'm gonna do it too. Don't worry. I wouldn't make you guys do a thing that I wouldn't do.
Oh my God, no, Tom.
Oh, is he going already?
Icy teeth.
Oh, and Matt. So Matt has already warned us. Oh, Matt,
yeah. Sorry about that, guys. I stepped away to tie a damsel to some train tracks. I'm back.
Good. And Kelvin, your video has conveniently gone out too. I can't help but notice.
Post a picture of yourself on Twitter doing it.
Yeah, right at the moment of truth. But okay, guys, let's go ahead and dive into this. We were going to be answering questions, but I think we should just go for this and see how long we can last.
Well, I'm not
Ready?
doing that. I'm just going to sit here with my mom.
There you go. On your mark, say go.
Oh.
Well, Tom was right in there. Oh, I can't. Oh, wow. Taking it out of your mouth is a terrible idea.
You just want to put it back in. Yeah.
Oh, this iced coffee is
Don't take it out. Just leave it in.
It's kind of, I mean, oh my God. Oh, wow. Guys.
I'm going to use these on myself.
Is Kelvin doing this? Oh, God.
It's just getting increasingly hotter. It's just like going around my whole mouth, like spreading.
How long are you supposed to last with this, Tom? Like how?
I saw the video. The guy did it like
stop
5 minutes.
I got the hiccups. I lose.
Oh.
I can take this.
This is not good. Hiccups are coming.
Oh, God. Oh, this is a terrible mistake. This is really bad.
Now you know why we didn't do it at the beginning.
Oh, God. I gotta eat it. Oh, my God.
Woo!
Guys, oh.
Come on, guys. You got this. Keep going. Keep going.
The problem is it doesn't just stop when you take it out of your mouth. How do I make it stop?
What's this
Oh,
for?
God.
Get this too.
Yeah, no.
Oh, my God.
I can't stop hiccuping.
Guys, oh, we're coming up on the hour, and I wanted to plug a couple of things. We got MSP live chats. We're going to have one next Thursday. Oh, my God. And you should come. I'm out. I can't do it. Oh, man. This is a terrible mistake.
Well, it's been nice having you here on this NinjaRMM live chat. We're here.
Ninja One.
Come on.
Oh, my
You got it.
Ninja One.
Come on. You got it. You can do this.
Check out Tom Lawrence's YouTube channel. Jason is always on the community. He's doing amazing things in security. Tom Watson is with our live chats too. Kelvin has this amazing project on GitHub. You should check out CyberDrain. Oh my God, guys! I think we gotta go. Woo! Jason, good luck with your client call.
Yeah.
I'm crying.
Yeah.
I'm crying. Okay, guys, this was a lot of fun. We'll never do this again.
Was it?
Was it? Oh God, I'm dizzy.
And I think with that, happy Halloween, everyone.
Yep.
My nose is clear.
See you later.
And